Hello and welcome to episode 4 of VocTer Gaming. I am your host, the vocal terrorist, Jesse Rain. Now, last week was entirely Terran vs Zerg, as it's a matchup I'm quite familiar with, and I wanted to get off to a nice simple start. This week I'm going to showcase a bit more of the Protoss, a race I know a little bit less about, have played as Protoss a few times, did once manage to get 3 bases up before dying. But before we get into this, just a few quick announcements. Again, feel free to join me on irc.funetic.net /gaming channel. We're constantly in there. That's run by Nodus and L. There's always quite a few of us about, talking about general games and gaming, StarCraft 2. We run the Game of the Month series there as well, which is currently Borderlands. So please feel free to stop by, chat with us, join in, and share your own gaming experiences. Don't forget, you too can send me your StarCraft 2 replays to VocTer Gaming, VOCTER Gaming @gmail.com. I will watch them all, and I will possibly cast them as well. And before I continue, a quick shout out to my wonderful fiancee, Ami, who listens into every broadcast and was in fact the reason for me beginning these. So now we're going to get into this. We're going to start off. It's a fairly simple game. This is taken from Liquid HuK's just ladder games while out in Korea, playing for the GSL. HuK with some recent success at both DreamHack and playing very well in the GSL. So we're going to start the game off. HuK is over here. This is on Scrap Station, playing as the Protoss against NosLoki, the Zerg player, spawning over here. Wishing each other the GG as we get off to a fairly simple start. Scrap Station is a very strange ladder map. Originally seemed very suited to Zerg players, but quickly showed a favour to Terran players. As we see the Xel'Naga Watchtower here and here in the dark, with the gold expansion down here, but with rocks here and here, which when broken down allow much quicker access to the opponent's base, and obviously the close air positions. This being a 2-player map, they know where each is starting. HuK complaining about a Korean stream cheating him by watching his stream while playing against him. Hopefully will not happen here. As you see, it's very simple to scan this base. Big wide open ramps here and here. Nice open natural expansion. Although with the rocks here can make it dangerous to defend later on in the game. As we see, nothing much going on. Nothing, no 6-pull, nothing, no early expansions from either player. Just very simple. Not worrying. The gas going down here. Gas not quite yet for Liquid HuK, who is, by the way, the most adorable player in the world, the handsomest Protoss. And of course, while there's a lull in the gameplay, just a quick shout out to TeamLiquid.net, which is the greatest StarCraft 2 resource on the internet, and obviously part of the Team Liquid that HuK is part of, and giving him his full support. Now we see a gas going down here. Its gateway's about to finish. We'll probably see a wall off here. You can put the gateway here, the cybernetics core here, and a pylon, and then just kind of wall off with a zealot. It does take a bit longer than normal, but obviously while these rocks are up here, it is quite a distance to get around to your opponent's base. Of course, let's not forget that we do have the island expansion up here, which can be taken, but of course is very risky against any sort of airplay, which is why this Overlord is scouting. Won't see anything out of the ordinary. We'll just see the gateway and the cybernetics core and 2 gas. Very standard for Protoss. We see Zergling speed going down now in the base of NosLoki. Again, very standard, as I explained last week for those of you who watch. Zergling speed is an absolute necessity. And now we see the hatch at 21, slightly late. Generally tend to see an earlier expansion, especially from Korean Zergs. But there's nothing wrong with that. And as we see the wall off here, there's the Zealot out. Nearly called him a Zergling because I'm definitely awake right now. That is something that I am. I am not still in bed. See sentries being produced. Going for an early defence. Sentries, obviously, the earlier you get them out, the quicker they build energy, which allows for more force fields, which will allow him to expand down here, as he's doing right now, dropping the Nexus, and force field across here, should he feel the need. These speedlings now coming in, just going to scout this. Shouldn't force the cancel, will have enough forces coming out in the form of these sentries and the Zealot, to just kind of take them out, force them to run. Not willing to. Going to drop a force field now, just allowing him the position advantage. Does lose a sentry, which is not good. That is not good for HuK at all. Losing a sentry this early on. Did not want to do that, as obviously that means less force fields as the game progresses. And a full scout now by this Zergling. Really bad play from HuK there. Really needed to put a stop to that and not lose that sentry. Is now dropping 4 more gates here, which will shortly become warp gates as they finish. And now, again, things progressing as normal for NosLoki, just droning hard, trying to get up, dropping these gases. And as we see, the food count's still even, nothing really major's happened yet. Does have this Overlord here, knows exactly what's going on in HuK's base. Did see that Speedling scout. We see 4 more Zerglings being produced up there. And this force now entirely sentries and zealots. This will just be a scouting force. This will not be able to do any damage. We'll just allow him to have a slight amount of map presence. Take this Zelnaga watchtower. See these speedlings here. And as we watch, they'll come round so that he'll be able to take down any overlords that are just floating about, if he so chooses. Instead, chooses to go past. And if we just hop over here, we see the Roach Warren going down for NosLoki. We see the hatchery morphing into the lair. And back here we see just taking down an Overlord. Won't matter too much. And gets out of there. Because again, with these sentries, there's not a lot you can do to damage the Zerg. But that just allowed him to see what was going on. He will know about this base here. And now he's just going to move back into a nice defensive position. We should see a round of more sentries and zealots coming out. I'm expecting a round of stalkers sometime soon, as stalkers are the main damage dealers of the gateway-based army. We see Burrow going down now for the roaches, and Glyle Reconstruction going down. That's just going to help him very much, especially against force fields. If you get Burrow and Burrow movement, force fields become almost entirely useless, as you can just burrow your roaches under them, move back, and then it simply becomes a hinder to the zealots. Now, as we see, Liquid HuK is removing these rocks here. We'll go ahead and then remove these. Wants to open a nice clear pathway to his opponent. That will allow the stalkers and sentries to get there much quicker. But as we can see, Roach is now spawning for Loki. Is going to move them here. Is going to take down these rocks. Interesting. Both players looking to open up this pathway between them. We see HuK here taking this Zelnaga watchtower, just scaling for any forces moving down here. Loki taking this one here, making sure that HuK does not have the gold. He just has those 2 bases that have been set up. So we see these rocks going down. He will move forward. Decides against it, moves back, and now we see the stalkers coming in. Plenty of stalkers being warped, and this army is quite fearsome now with all these full energy sentries here. Will allow him to I forget the word. I'm going to use a cowboy word. It will allow him to corral. Yes, I do know some incredible words. Will allow him to corral the roaches and speedlings. As we see, dropping some decent force fields, splitting up the roach army, but will not be enough yet, especially with Burrow. As we can see, no observer with this army yet. But if we look down here, we do see NosLoki dropping a hatchery at the gold. This is going to be fantastic. If HuK does not scout it, if HuK fails to see it, this is going to allow him to get ahead so quickly in production.